Active bread.
Here we go. Here we go. Come on, y'all. Come on.
We know how to do this.
We know how to do this. We know how to do this. Come on. And we are not having no technical difficulties.
No technical
this
difficulties
week.
today.
You know, come on, Jesus.
Yes.
Jesus, be in the room.
Be in the room.
So come on in, y'all. Come on in and join. Y'all shining. You're shining like a diamond. Oh yeah, look at that. You're shining bright. Look at that. There you go. Look at that. You are shining bright.
Right.
Shining bright like a diamond.
Like a diamond.
While you guys are jumping on, let me introduce myself. I am Harold LaFall, and this is the award-winning
Wanda L. Floyd.
Wanda L. Floyd up in the house. Come on in. We are going to be talking about continuing the conversation from last week, where we started talking about parenting and some of the challenges that we face as parents, and some of the challenges that we face having been parented.
Yes.
And so we got a lot of feedback from last week's broadcast. Just wanted to acknowledge a few of them. Pastor Sonia said, love this. Chris Wall said, I think everyone needs to hear this. Parents, non-parents, and kids. If we are all aware of these things and working towards the same or similar resolutions, it may be a little easier to implement. That's what Chris said. You can't read my handwriting, huh?
No, I can't read
I
that.
write like a doctor. I write like a doctor. I write like
a Dr. Harold.
Deborah Day Collins said, we have to teach our girls not to accept what she gets. She's more valuable than that.
Yes, that part.
That
I mean, that Chris was good too.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Because as a grown woman, at my age, I just had to implement that. So yes, that's good.
Yeah. And we got some gnats in the room. And
don't tell me, Harold.
And then Jill Duncan the fourth said, more discussions like this are needed. My heart hurts for what is happening with so many of our young people.
Yes.
And then Charles George says, stay active in your kids' life. Stay active in your kids' life. No matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Separation, past divorce, past disagreement, past
not understanding where they are at.
Stay active in their lives, past the other parent. It's time that both men and women learn, because a lot of times the men can't do anything because of how the women are acting. A lot of times the men can't do what they need to do. It's not always that guys are just deadbeats.
Yeah.
A lot of time the women hold those children as bait. And so, ladies, past it didn't work out with you and now he's moved on with someone else. You have a child that you two have to raise together. Good morning. That you two have to raise together for 18 and past 18, years. So we have to put our feelings aside and work together to do what's best for the children.
Because, sometimes what I've seen is that women, because they are mad at how the relationship dissolved, that they take their frustration and anger out on the dad.
Yes.
And they try to use the child as a bargaining tool.
Yes.
Like, if you don't do this, you can't see the child. Or if you don't give me this, or you've moved on, and I'm mad that you moved on.
Exactly.
And I'm withholding my child from you to hurt you.
Exactly.
And that happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
And the challenge is we forget that the most important person in this whole dynamic is always the children.
It's the children.
It's not us.
It's the children.
We brought the children into this.
Yeah.
And so they are the most important piece of all of this. So you're right. We got to put our feelings aside.
Put them aside.
You got to put your hurt, your pain, your anger, and your frustration.
All that stuff.
You know, you got to put that aside to focus on the child.
Right.
Because if you don't, that child is going to end up very bitter and angry.
They are bitter.
Yeah.
They are angry.
Yeah.
And they are suffering.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
We have girls that are dressed inappropriately.
Mm-hmm.
They accept any and everything from any type of guy just as long as there's some type of attention, and that's because they're trying to fill that void that dad is supposed to fill. The biggest void is the need for God, but that next one is the place that dad is supposed to fill. That attention and all of that. And so they look for love in any type of way that they can get it, even if it's negative. And so we dressed a certain type of way. We act a certain type of way. We think our hair is supposed to look a certain type of way. And I just can't stand Snapchat. I can't stand it.
I just found out what Snapchat was.
I don't know how to do it, don't want to.
Yeah,
and this newest thing, I want to hit my kids upside the head every time. They taking pictures like that. And I'm like, girl, put your tongue in. It unnerves me.
Yeah.
Why every time y'all take a picture now, if you notice with the young ladies, every time they take a picture, their tongue is hanging out their mouth. You have you don't know what that looks like.
I haven't seen that.
Oh,
I don't think I want to see that.
It's suggestive.
Oh yeah.
Remember we talked about what they're doing in junior high school now. They're having oral sex and then feel like they still are virgins because they haven't been penetrated. And so this is a message that you're sending to these young men that think this way. And so whereas I have 2 girls that turned 14 today, I'm like, girl, if you don't put your tongue in your mouth on these pictures, I'm going to slap you upside your head because you have no idea what you're presenting and how that looks. You know, they think, they just cute, it's fun, that's what the girls do, but
it's sending the wrong message.
It's the wrong message.
But you said something too about the fathers, the importance of fathers really speaking life into their children. And I work with youth that are in juvenile hall. Okay. And one of the things that I see so often is that a lot of the young men are just angry. They're angry at their parents. They're angry at society because they feel like they have been left to their own devices. In many instances, they have, because they haven't had that parental guidance, they have sought it in dangerous places. Yes. So that is what makes these gangs so appealing to them, because they haven't gotten the acceptance, the love, and attention from their families. So they are susceptible to these gangs and other negative influences. Right. And it's really sad because when I see the kids in juvenile hall, so many of them remind me of my son. Because that could have been my son. Yeah. That could have been my son. Had I not paid attention to what was going on and sought assistance for my son, because sometimes, as parents, we can't do it alone.
We can't.
We think we can. We can't do this thing alone. And unfortunately for many of us, we don't have a close tribe. It's different than like when you and I grew up. We had our family close nearby. We had aunts and uncles that lived in the same community. And so if the kids couldn't talk to the parent, they had an uncle or an aunt or a cousin that they can talk to. Many of the youth don't have that anymore.
Or the neighborhood.
Our
neighbors in our neighborhood, our neighbors were a lot closer than we are now. We knew everybody in my neighborhood.
Exactly.
So you even had that. So what do you do now? Because even if you are a part of the church, and just speaking from experience, even if you are a part of the church, sometimes your sons, they don't want to talk to the men at the church.
Oh no.
They don't want to.
No. And sometimes because they don't think they can relate to the men at the church. Because sometimes in some of our churches, we put on this mask and we act like we have it all together. And this boy is looking at this man like, I can't relate to you because
Right.
you got it all together.
Right.
You know, you talking all good. You looking a certain way.
Yeah.
My stuff is messed up.
Yeah.
So I can't relate to you.
Yeah.
I can't relate to the dude at the church.
Yeah.
I can relate better to the dude on the corner than I can to the
'Cause
dude
he
on the
looked
church.
like me.
And he looked like me.
Right.
And he's giving me real talk.
Right.
He's
Right.
talking to my real situation.
Right.
You're talking way up here.
Right.
But I'm dealing with some real stuff down here. And there's a disconnect.
Right.
You give me holy talk.
Right.
This person is giving me real talk
Right.
that I can relate to.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a disconnect.
Yes.
And we have to take off the facade. Brothers in the church, we got to take off the facade
Come on,
and
come
give
on.
our young brothers
Come on.
real talk.
Come on.
Real deal. Let's not stop talking at this level. Let's give them real talk.
Yeah, stop
Give them
talking to them about scriptures and all that, and God said this.
Yeah,
and God.
yeah.
You got to use some wisdom. There's a
Exactly.
way to draw them and talk to them in the present day time and give them all the God that they need without ever saying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Without saying
Without
it.
saying
And
it.
you got to be willing to be transparent with them,
Yes.
because you ain't always had it together.
No.
And that becomes the breakdown, because we act like we've always had
Mm-hmm.
it together, and we're telling them do this, do that. But okay, but tell me when you didn't do
Tell
that.
me when
what
you
happened?
was on drugs.
Exactly.
Tell me when you was the pimp.
Exactly.
Tell me
When
about
you-
how many women you ran
Exactly.
through. At what age?
Exactly.
What you was like 14 and you was with a grown woman.
Exactly.
Because those are real life things. Yeah.
And see, this is what I tell my kids that are in juvenile hall. The difference between you and a lot of other people, including myself, is that you got caught.
Right.
I didn't get caught.
We didn't get caught.
We didn't get caught. And so there's no difference
Right.
between you and I. I just didn't
I
get
didn't get
caught.
caught.
And we have to have those kind of real
Yes.
conversations with our young people, because
Yes.
we act like we've always had it together.
Yes.
And ain't nobody walking on water but Jesus. So that means none of us don't have it all together.
Right.
We may put on this mask and pretend like we got it all together because we've gotten over. We've gotten over the drug addiction. We got over all of the craziness that we
Right.
used to. But there was a time, just barely.
Barely made it.
Come on in. Hey, and as you look, Facebook is tripping, but as you are logging on and are joining us, please share this with your community, because this is a real conversation and a necessary conversation for our community. Because one of the things that I know is that if our kids are not well, our community isn't well,
And we're losing them.
and we're losing
And
them.
the fact of the matter is, and why this is so heavy on Harold and our hearts, is because we're losing
Exactly.
our kids. I worry, and I shouldn't worry, about the outcome of my children. Because you're teaching one thing at home, and then you release them. They're getting already in Contra Costa County. If they haven't gone back to school, they're already getting ready to go back to school. So I'm teaching one thing at home, and then I'm releasing them into this large facility that has children around them that are being taught so many other things, are
All
rather
walks of
at
life.
home or in the streets. And so how do you hope that your child holds on to the values that you are instilling at home and not be caught up with what they're facing at school every day?
And see, so oftentimes we think we're doing the right thing. We're sending our kids to school, clean clothes, making sure they're doing their homework, but we're not paying attention to a lot of things that they're not saying.
We send our kids to the lion's
Yeah,
den
because and like you said,
every
every
day.
They're exposed to stuff that they're not getting from our household,
No.
but they're getting when they go to school, when they go to different arenas, they're getting exposed to stuff that we try to protect them from. And so because we're not sometimes talking to them and
Right.
paying attention, we're not able to communicate with them how to navigate through all of this stuff that they are being exposed to, because they're being exposed to a lot.
So let's talk about, real quick, let's talk about the signs. That's good. That
Yeah.
just dropped in me. Let's talk about the signs that we need to pay attention to as parents.
So I can say for me, when my son was going through that challenging period, he withdrew from me. He wasn't talking to me. He appeared angry, and he was almost barely unrecognizable to me. Because I'm like, who is? It was just like he had become a different person. And then his conversation started changing. He started talking about gangs and thug life. He was like glorifying it. And I'm like, what's going on? But I was there, but I wasn't there. I just thought it was a phase. I just thought it was a phase that he was going through. And so I wasn't paying attention until one of the teachers found his journal at school. And he had written about some of the things he had been going through and some of the bullying he had been experiencing, and his thoughts and feelings of wanting to harm himself. Is when I started kind of thinking back, like, wait a minute, I have noticed that he's been withdrawn, he's acting angry. Now this all makes sense.
Okay.
But paying attention is really important.
So number one, first sign that something could be going on is when they begin to withdraw.
Yep.
If you have a child that and even with children that are shy, there's still noticeable changes that will allow you to see they're starting to be withdrawn now. Okay? Pay attention to that. If they're withdrawing and they're coming in and they're not as open and friendly and they're going straight to their room, or they're starting to spend more time in their room, or they're starting to isolate themselves from everybody else, it's warning sign number one.
Yeah.
Warning sign number two is when they stop talking. Or let's go before that, 2A. When they are talking, but their conversation begins to change.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what, if they're still talking, pay attention to what they're talking about. What they're talking about, if there's other siblings